Shalom Israel. First and foremost, I do want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai Ba'Shem Kadash, to the apostles, and also great millstone for teaching us his true peace and blessings to the hope like Israel. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father in Hebrew. Ba'Shem is the name, and Yahweh Shai is the name of the begotten Son. Background lesson: as you see, wickedness is being normalized, and gonna be going to the streamer goes by Blackboy Max. And there's been a lot of, things around this dude. I believe I made a lesson, speaking on him. Things he's been doing, saying. I believe that main point of that lesson was going to the streamers, which are the new celebrities, are being used to push, promote, particular agendas and certain things. This is also why you see these streamers are unable to speak on and go into certain things. They're unable to speak their mind and really say how they feel. They can't form their own opinion, as you can see in various clips. They always try to redirect the question. They don't want to answer, and whatever the case may be. But as you see with this particular guy, he's been pretty much falling off the edge. And it's going to show the things that you need to do in order to obtain fame and praise on this side. And it's going to show what these streamers and these people, of this world are willing to do to obtain said fame and praise. Now you have this guy wearing wigs. He recently got a tattoo of the word diva on him. Many people are calling him out for that. There you go. And he came up with his own reason as to why he got tattooed diva. But I searched up diva meaning. If you don't know already, just getting verification sake. Being called diva means you are being compared to a highly celebrated female singer, female being a key word, performer. Now it says, however, the term has evolved into slang that can either be a compliment for exuding confidence in a high style, or critique for being demanding or difficult to please. And he also called himself a bad bitch. So, going to show where this guy's at, Also, this recent clip right here, and that's his original hairstyle, just so you know right there. And this is what he has now. Even before that, he wore another type of wig, with curly hair. Hey, these people are through, man. But going back to the title, wickedness is being normalized, and you have these streamers are being used to heavily, push this, agenda, especially onto these, young children, because they're the ones that, tune into these streams and watch these guys' videos, and their clips are all over TikTok too. But I do want to give just a quick clip right here, probably see what else is, on the search, and then I'll get into these scripts at hand, because these people are through, And you want to find other, examples. You also see, even dealing with athletes, the things that they have to do, wearing women's clothing, painting their nails, and when they get called out for it, they come up with all these various other reasons. It's this, it's that, and it's this type of tradition, and whatever the case may be. Doing all these things in order to so-called, justify their actions and make it seem like they're not doing it for another reason. But that's why you see LeBron James wearing a woman's outfit. You have all these other top of the top celebrities, athletes, whatever the case may be, doing wicked things. But once again, to reach the top and to be on top, there are things you need to do.
Wild nut shit or twerking. But if I'm stroking the ground or doing some wild nut shit or twerking, why don't we twerk? Now that I think about it, my nigga, why is twerk a gender neutral dance? Twerking is the only gender neutral dance.
And I like to say, a certain word, but I'm not trying to get my video or channel taken down, because I just
I'm tweaking.
F, just so you don't know.
Bro, I never even thought about that shit. Like, that is the only gender neutral dance, bro. Everything else.
So as you see, wickedness is being upheld, and they're trying to justify these wicked and abominable things, pushing things, for the man to be like the woman, to do things of the woman, wear women's clothing, paint their nails. I saw one of the brothers listen, I believe GMS Dedication, if I'm correct. Watching a little bit of that brother's video, and he had a compilation of videos. You have people painting their nails. He also got a lot of videos where you have these celebrities, these athletes wearing women's clothing. They're all pushing that that agenda. But as making that point, there are things you got to do in order to obtain fame and praise on this side. But you see how they're trying to normalize and to justify these things. And as you see with these streamers, they have a younger audience. These streamers pull in 20 to 60,000 plus viewers a stream. And you think this devil is not going to be on top of that. And I just made that point earlier. Is a reason why they're unable to go into certain things. Matter of fact, there's a reason why you see them push certain things. But when it comes to their true thoughts and true opinions on the matter, in certain situations, they're unable to, speak their mind. Because they're controlled. They're set up to lead you astray. And I was like to make a point. It's like I'm kind of rambling, but let's get the point across. You see with streamers like I Show Speed, he does these, traveling streams, and you saw how he was being used to push and promote particular inventions, robots. So they're going to show what they're going to be used for, and he pulls in hundreds of thousands of viewers. Let's see what else we can get from this. Jeffree Star is another F word. You know what I mean? It says sparks romance rumors with Pac-Man Max after reposting his new look. So this is who he's pulling. And I won't be surprised if they do a collab or something like that. Matter of fact, you had another streamer, Your Rage. He went with a gay streamer to a drag bar or something like that. And you saw how he was being surrounded with that, and you have a lot of Jakes that watch that particular dude. And that's what he's doing. He got in a bathtub with that said gay streamer. But then if you call these things out, you're weird. It's not because that you're weird. They're trying to normalize this stuff. And you see how they use a Jake streamer to do these things. It says Pac-Man Max transitioning in real time during Pride Month. Like, there's a lot of things surround this dude. You got a vasectomy, wigs, dermal piercing. I believe he was wanting to get a belly button piercing, if I'm correct. Butt reduction. He also talked about that. David tattoo. I said, he says, why can't men twerk? So these people are through, bro. But I do want to get into these scriptures, it's like fellas, rambling a little bit. Is Isaiah 3:9. And this is the main point right here. The show of their countenance doeth witness against them, and they declare their sin as Sodom. They hide it not, so that they're boasting their wickedness, the confusion. And that's what you see in today's society. It's nothing but wickedness and confusion being upheld. Matter of fact, that's the standard. And if you see any wrong with these things, you're the oddball. You're the weird one. Then they'll say, what's the problem? And that will push you into predicament where now you're the one being pointed out. Because that's what you see a lot of people do. They'll use that as a gotcha. Well, what's the problem with it? There's tons of problems, but these people don't have the guts just to say how it is, as the prophets do. This is why we are hated, why we're demonized. Because we're against this wicked kingdom, the confusion, the wickedness of this place. This is why we're ostracized, looked upon as the odd one out. And yeah, people like say, you get with the program. It's year 2026. You still feel that type of way. You still say those types. You get with the program. Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shah is going to destroy this place, and guess what? You along with it. And we pray for it. But let's get the annotate. But the very look on their faces give them away. They display their sin like the people of Sodom and don't even try to hide. You see he's coming out full force. And before that, he looked like a somewhat normal dude. But I believe even then he also had a lot of questionable clips of him being sus. So it's to no one's surprise. Especially to be on top in today's society, things you need to do in order to obtain those types of things. There are things you got to do, sacrifices need to be made. And they're willing to do those things. There's also why again, script, woe unto you that are rich, for you have received your consolation. So you're going to get what's coming to you, plainly put. But I'll read this out one more time. It says, the very look on their faces get in the way to display their sin like the people of Sodom, and don't even try to hide it. They are doomed. They have brought destruction upon themselves. So they have brought destruction upon themselves, man. I don't even think I finished off King James. I'll read this one more time right here, and I'll get these other scriptures. The show of their countenance do witness against them. They declare their sin as Sodom. They hide it not. So you see how they're boasting about these things. And you have that Blackboard Max dude. Matter of fact, he's embracing it. He was doing a gay dance, pretty much. People are calling him out for it, and he saw, he was getting mad about that. But also using that, to his advantage in order to get, sympathy points, make people feel pity for him. But this place is doing. This is just one, a example. Which I've been making, a few lessons, from time to time regarding these streamers, how they're going to be used to push, promote these agendas this devil has. Because there's even why you have these streamers having these huge brand deals with Nike, Adidas, and as I was making that point is why they don't want to speak on or go into certain things. So you best see when this MOTB comes out, don't be surprised when you see these streamers, which I like to say they're the new celebrities, because you have literally everyone wanting to be streamers, looking up to these dudes. You have athletes, football players, basketball players, now wanting to stream, But it says, woe unto his soul, for they have rewarded evil unto themselves. So they're going to get what's coming to them. Isaiah 5:20. It says, woe unto them that call you good and good evil, that put darkness to light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. So it's going to show how out of whack everything really is, how backwards things are. And I always like to say, we are in a bizarro, upside down world. Bizarre world going to being the opposite of Superman, as well as we've seen Stranger Things going to the upside down. You have nothing but wickedness being upheld, wickedness being the standard, being the norm, while you have righteousness being looked upon as wickedness. Because like I said, when you speak against these things, when you put your foot down, not want to partake in the wickedness and the confusion of this place, somehow you're the odd one out. You're the oddball. You're the weird one. And it was like they're into that. It's year 2026. You're still saying those types of things, man. Get with the program. No, you. And that's why I was making my point earlier. This is why people hate the prophets. This is why people are so hurt and offended. So hey, take it up with Yahweh Ba'Shem Shah. See where that leads. This second is 15:6. But it says, for wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. This is exactly why this place needs to go, why it needs to be destroyed. Because it's none but wickedness. You have the constant rebellion against the ways of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. And like I said earlier, this is why you're seeing these streamers being used to push these agendas onto these, younger children that tune into these streamers, that watch them, that look up to them, that idolize them. Because you'll see, whether you have these streamers who go out, and travel. For example, you'll see with actual speed, which he's bigger than a lot of these celebrities you see today. He will travel and you see, people are literally chasing him. So you can imagine, especially when they drop, merch, clothing, people are always, selling them out. So you can imagine when they, push and promote, the charagma, the MOTB, these other particular things. There's the confusion. Now, come on, guys, this is normal. It's okay to be this. It's okay to do that. Because that's what you see, But there is a problem. It's not normal. You have the same exact people saying they believe in the Most High, they believe in God, they're godly, and look at the things they support, things that they do. And it's like from kind of rambling, lesson. Like I said, I made a few lessons in the past going to these streamers and even called out this dude Black Max before he started going off the rails. As much as you see with this right here. But it's Matthew 15:4. Let them alone they be blind leaders of the blind, and if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. So you have these people worshiping these guys and following them to their death. Same things with these false prophets. You have these bugged out Israelites want to follow these other Israelite camps, IUIC, ICBK, and whoever else that's not GMS, Great Millstone. These are like camp pushing, promote confusion, leading off people astray, pushing all these false doctrines that these anti-Christians push. So going to realize these guys started out and took the bag, But like I said, I'm using this streamer you as an example of the things that you are seeing today. As I made that point, I already made a few lessons in the past regarding these, streamers. And really what I mainly put going to and be used to push, promote these, wicked things. But it says, I got that already. Get 3 more scriptures, not be the points. Psalms 82:5. And it says, they're not, they understand, they walk on in darkness, all the foundations of the earth are out of course. So it's all out of whack. It's all jumbled up. You see nothing but a big ball of confusion. This is Deuteronomy 22:5. And like I said, this is what they're trying to normalize people doing. And specifically, men. So why they use these, Jakes, these Israelites to push, promote certain things, use them to wear a woman's clothing, to destroy the masculinity, of the man. Because you especially see in today's society how the man is portrayed. The image that is formed regarding the man. That they're useless, not needed, and what the true depiction of the man is today in today's society is a man in tune with his feminine side and wearing one's clothes, and all these various things, which is completely off and completely out of order. This is Deuteronomy 22:5. It says, the woman shall not wear that which pertains to a man. So that's what you especially see today. Dealing with men's clothing these women wear. But also dealing with this main point. So neither shall a man put on a woman's garment. For all that do so are abomination unto the Lord thy power. So you're an abomination to Yahweh Bashmel Shai. You have these dudes painting their nails. You have this what's the name? Playboy Cardi, if I'm correct. And yeah, you have Jake's literally worshiping this dude. And there's a lot of videos coming out and wearing thongs and painting his nails. That's something you heavily see within the rapping industry, the painting of nails, and that's why you see a lot of Jakes doing that today. Because that's who they worship, that's who they follow, But there's a lot of suspect things you see dealing with these or rappers, these celebrities. It's old news pretty much. Things they do, have done. For example, you see Lil Wayne kissing what's his name, Birdman. That stuff goes years back. But as I made that point, there are things you got to do in order to get to the top. If you want praise and fame. So you have the Black Eye Club or Panda Club. I forget exactly what they call it. That's why sometimes you'll see celebrities having one black eye because they took something up behind. And after you have people within the industry, exposing that, saying how it is. But it was 1 Corinthians 6:9-11. And it says, "No, you're not the unrighteous, shall not inherit the kingdom of the Most High. Be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate." That's what the main key points. "Nor abusers of themselves with mankind, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of the Most High. And such were some of you, but ye are washed, but ye are sanctified, but ye are justified in the name of the Lord Yahushua, and by the Spirit of our power." Hey, there you go. And that's what you see today. People partaking in, people following in. As it's written, "No, you're not the righteous, not inherit the kingdom of the Most High," and listed off. All those things. That's pretty much the point. I want to make a quick lesson. Dealing with that. As I said, I made a few lessons. These past couple months regarding these streamers. Calling out how they're gonna be used for these wicked agendas. They're pushing, promote confusion, and see they're being used in order to lead the younger audience astray, as you can clearly see within those few little posts that I got within this lesson. And what's in these are streamers that Jake, you have a lot of Israelites tuning in and watching. Speaking of these younger audience, you also have a lot of older Jakes watching these dudes, following these dudes, and see how they're trying to normalize and justify this type of stuff. And if you speak against it, you're the weird one. You're the oddball. It's going to show the mass confusion and wickedness that is being pushed, that is being supported, that is being upheld, and why this place needs to be destroyed. And this is just one example. So it's like if I kind of rambled throughout this lesson. Lord will tie these points together. That's my ability. I do close out, give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh Bashem Kakadash. Shalom.